Now, as we move on, just a warning here that we bring you now a story that some viewers may find distressing. Ellie Reynolds, a Muslim rape gang survivor, says that she was raped from the age of 13. For 5 years, she says she was subjected to violent rape, sexual assault and sinister threats. And although she helped to jail her vile abusers for 54 years back in February this year, none of her charges were ever brought against them. Now, Ellie has bravely waived her rights to anonymity to open up to us today on GB News about what has happened. Ellie, welcome to the show. First of all, I want to just pay tribute to your immense bravery. I really, really and truly mean that. You know, for waiving your anonymity and coming onto the show today. What you've been through is something that nobody should have to go through, but I just want to say thank you for your huge courage. Ellie, if I may, as painful as it is, could you in some way relay to GB News viewers some of the ordeals you went through? And it started aged just 13.
Yeah, so I was subjected in Cumbria, Barrow-in-Furness, to a multiple men rape gang. I was kidnapped off streets in broad daylight. I was drugged. I was held hostage in flats and takeaways. There was multiple gang rapes that took place over the space of 5 years. It was a living nightmare, it really was, and I'm not quite sure how I got out of it, let alone doing so well. So I was subjected to a lot of trauma by grooming gangs.
And this went on for years. Did you ever reach out to the authorities? Did you ever cry out for help? And what happened?
I did, yes. So there was children care workers involved that had inklings that stuff was going on. They were writing down that I was a Category 2 CSE victim. They were going to the flats and checking them out. I also went to the police. I tried to go to the police on the 3rd of March 2018 and found myself arrested on the 4th of March 2018. That case went on for 3 years in which I was acquitted. So I feel like I tried to reach out to authorities and I was silenced pretty much.
Not only that, but they seemed to put charges against you, which effectively meant that, yeah, you were gagged, you were silenced. That took your voice away from it. Nevertheless, of course, we can't name these individuals, but nevertheless, they were successfully jailed after the true horror of what they were doing came out. And they've been, as you said, hiding in plain sight for 14 years, operating 14 years, getting away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from my personal point of view, I think that if the authorities would have listened to a lot more people, it could have potentially have been stopped a lot sooner. It took multiple victims for anybody to kind of take any sort of notice. And still a lot of victims that have been unheard on the situation as well.
And Ellie, you now believe there is sufficient evidence to reopen your case. You'd like to be heard. Is that likely to happen? Where are we at with that?
So I was contacted by the authorities that have said that, you know, now there's been a successful conviction, they are interested in reopening my case. I feel like it shouldn't have been that long. I mean, this is 7 years down the line now. But the authorities are saying that they're going to reopen it.
Do you have any faith in the authorities after the way you've been treated? You went to them in your darkest, most desperate hours of need after all the traumatic and terrible abuse you went through, only to find yourself being charged. Do you have any faith now?
None whatsoever. I feel like really it put me more at risk going to the authorities for the abusers to then find out that I'd reported it, and I had no level of protection from authorities. I felt nothing but shame and like I wasn't believed. So I really don't have any faith whatsoever in any kind of authorities, unfortunately.
Ellie, when you hear politicians talk about this week, we've seen a change of position. A lot of people felt there should be a full, transparent national inquiry with full power to demand anybody, no matter how powerful and no matter how far the crimes go back. Presumably that's the kind of inquiry that you want. Do you have any faith that the British political class is listening to survivors like you?
Not really. After seeing a list of many people that have denied it in not only local areas but across the country, I wish that I did have a little bit of faith, because I think when it came out that there was 5 recommendations, we kind of had a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And I feel like now it was more a torch full of lies. They're still not really taking any interest, and it's soul destroying because there's still a lot more potential people and victims out there. So, no, I don't have much faith. I'd like to think that it was going to happen, but I'm not really confident.
Ellie, may I ask you, do you think the politicians are afraid of this because of the racial element? They're afraid of being called racist. They're afraid of being called Islamophobic. Do you think that's the case? And how does that make you feel?
I think that plays a huge factor, especially given what's gone on in my own area. I feel like there's a lot of stuff as well that would be concerning if it came to the surface. So I do feel like racial aggravation plays a big part in it. And really, when it boils down to it, it's not about politics, it's not about race, it's about children out here in our country that are being abused. And unfortunately, that is just not the main focus for politicians and authorities, which it really should be the main point.
Ellie, we've spoken with survivors before on GB News. Charlie Peters has spoken with many more than I. One thing that seems to come through is that time and again there is this notion that white girls like yourself were specifically targeted because you were white. Is that a fair assumption of what happened to you?
I'd say it was fair with some of the threats that I received from my abusers and some of the names that I was called. Yeah.
And why do you think that was? Is it about power? Is it about specifically targeting you because they see you, I don't know, as inferior to them? What do you think's driving that?
I think with my personal experiences, it was definitely a power thing. I don't believe for 1 second that my abusers valued or respected young white girls. So I do feel like it was a control and respect within themselves situation, if that makes sense.
And how does that make you feel when that's been your lived experience? You went to the authorities, you presumably told them all of this, and it was met not only with the wall of silence, not only with inactivity, but they tried to charge you.
I think at the time, I was so young and I was so weak and I was just mentally and physically drained, and I really did put my all into having some sort of hope that the police were going to help me. With a case running for 3 years when you're accused of something that you haven't done, I don't know how I managed to get by on a day-to-day basis. I changed a lot about myself. I don't even look like I used to anymore when I was going through my abuse. I was more shocked and let down because I feel like people are always raised on, have respect for authorities, treat them with respect. I was certainly raised like that, and I can certainly say that I will not be raising my children like that.
Because you've completely lost all faith in authority.
Yeah.
And how does that make you feel? You're clearly a good person. You're clearly wonderful. You clearly have great moral fibre. God knows how you have still got that. But you've completely lost faith, haven't you?
Yeah, I feel like we took multiple chances back to the police for them to reinvestigate a lot sooner than 7 years later. I find it very hard to even believe now that they're interested in reopening my case, given what I was put through by not only my abusers, but them too. It really did impact my mental health. And I really find it quite tying to be expected to have some sort of respect for them. I really don't.
Can I ask you, just if you could give a message now to the Prime Minister, to the Home Secretary, to Jess Phillips, the Safeguarding Minister, what would you say to the British political class?
Well, an email was sent to Jess Phillips, who did arrange to meet with me, but this was a couple of months ago and I've heard nothing since. My message would be, I really feel like people need to start taking the victims more seriously, because we have lived a life of hell anyway. And the more that we're not taken seriously and mocked and not believed, the less likely other people that are going through it are going to speak out too, because they're going to look at us and think, well, if she's not believed, why would I be? So it's a ripple effect of just downright negativity.
Can I finally ask you, how are you? I mean, you seem you seem remarkably well together. You're smiling. You look great. I mean, how are you?
I'm great. I didn't, my life now is completely not what I imagined it to be. I really struggled when I was going through what I was to think that I'd even be living today. There was plenty of times where I didn't think I was going to make it out. So I take every day really as a blessing, because I'm out of it. I'm raising awareness for other people. I'm advocating for other people. That was always my main priority. I've got children now. I did everything that I never thought I'd have a chance to do. So it makes me happy knowing that I can come and talk to people and raise the awareness for other people that are sat at home too afraid to, and understandably. I want to be that voice for them, and I will always, as long as I am breathing, be that voice.
Ellie Reynolds, astonishing. I think you're an incredible person. Thank you so much for waiving your right to anonymity, speaking out, having the bravery, and I'm sending the love, not only for myself, but I think for everybody watching this channel, for everybody out there. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for coming on the show today. I wish you the very, very best of luck. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Now, GB News reached out to the Crown Prosecution Service, the Home Office and Cumbria Police about Ellie's story. The Crown Prosecution Service spokesman said this: "It is right that the offenders were convicted for their heinous crimes. We look at each case individually, and after a careful review of the evidence in Miss Reynolds' case, we concluded there was not a realistic prospect of securing a conviction. And we know our service to victims and complaints hasn't always been good enough, which is why we've recruited new victim liaison officers and rolled out training for staff working with victims." And the Home Office also replied to us with a spokesperson saying this: "It is wholly wrong to claim the government is cancelling local child sexual abuse inquiries. We will pursue justice and claims we would not do so to avoid offending any group of fault. And this government is taking decisive action to finally tackle grooming gangs, strengthening the child sexual exploitation police task force, giving victims more powers to have their cases reviewed, and making it a criminal offence to cover up any report of child sexual abuse." And meanwhile, a spokesperson for Cumbria Police said this: "Cumbria Constabulary thoroughly investigated each allegation reported by an individual in the Barrow area in 2018. Following all evidential opportunities being explored and inquiries conducted, a comprehensive case was prepared. The CPS decided not to authorise charges in relation to the case prepared." Once again, my absolute respect goes out to Ellie Reynolds.